Do you know what the strongest gang in the city of Miami? G-KODE and G-DUB are in fact the most famous gangs, but there are more than 100 gangs spread across the entire city. In this video, we're gonna talk about the 100 gangs of Miami and how most parts of them become parts of GDUB and GKODE Alliances, so stay with me until the end. Before we start, my name is Tuan SD and I'm the Brazilian guy of the channel ZNP Gangs. I am making English classes for making content for you bitches, so subscribe button now. We already dropped a video here on the channel about the first gangs and how it all started in Miami, because here we're gonna focus on GDUB and GKODE's fights. But come back to the end of the 90s. Little by little, Miami's gangs started acting like the big gangs in LA and Chicago. In LA, for example, you got basically everybody riding red or blue, and in Chicago, it's folk or people alliances. And in Miami, here we got GDUB and GKODE Alliances. The same vibe, but the Miami version. But how this pop off? On West Coast, gangs like Bloods, Crips, and Nosotros los Hermanos Gangsters blew up quickly, especially in LA, then spread to other cities like New York. The gangs of Chicago like Latin Kings and Gangster Disciples wasn't gonna get left behind, so they link up with crews down here to push more work. GDUB came through as basically an offshoot of the Gangster Disciples. They put money and muscle in Miami, trying to colonize some blocks and streets. The Crips roll up with them too, making the pipeline ever stronger. Meanwhile, the Latin Kings got bad with Bloods, and together they started, or kind of started, the G-KODE indirectly, which doesn't even really have a clear origin story, but they are the main rivals and opposition of GDUB Alliance. Local crews like Booby Boys, Zoe Pound, the Alligators, Southside Kings, and a bunch of other gangs started picking some sides, or dissolving each other. In Opaloka, for example, the Blues quick up with GDUB and held on the west side. On the east, a bunch of scared sets joined up G-KODE, who was also making moves in Liberty City. Liberty City was the price. Everyone knew if you ran Liberty City, you are that guy. The whole people was watching that thing. So when the G-KODE got quickly out pork and beans and the GDs start dropping money on the hood, a lot of locals joined ship to GDUB. G-KODE get pissed off because Zoipaut and Brown Sub switched sides, making easier for GDUB to take in pork and beans. That neighborhood turned into a straight war zone, one of the wildest in the city. The gang PSU, who already hated Zoipaut, backed alliance with G-KODE, trying to hold the line and keep pork and beans. Up north, local dealers was scrapping too. The Crips saw a perfect shot to move since the GDs was building down south. And of course, once Crips show up, so did the Bloods. They carved up who's like Dania, Liberia, Hollywood, and Handler. But if you look on the side of the Crips, they kept pushing their usual playbook. Take over as much as you can. They saw opportunity on South Beach, claiming alliance with local sets. This thing pissed off some crews like Eastway, Kane Gang, and Biscuit Zombies, who was already eating off the tourist trades but didn't wanna rock with G-KODE. So they started their own alliance, the North Miami East Side Alliance. But they are very close and friendly with G-KODE, going to war against GDUB and Zoe Pound. That brought even more smoke. The GDUB side clapped back by creating the North Miami West Side Alliance, but with the time they just joined forces with the GDUB. The East Side Alliance didn't take that lightly. They started expanding with backup from G-KODE. Gangs like C-Road, Crip Street, LLL, Skyblock rolled with North Miami East Side Alliance, with their enemies roll up with the West Side Alliance and GDUB sides. But after all, the East Side Alliance ties with G-KODE was making a lot of money and putting more people on their business, like Trey Boys, VP, Bloodset, and OJP. All gangs joined the East Side Alliance, making a very strong connection on this side of Miami, but a little bit western. By the late of the 90s, After Bobby Williams, the old boss of Miami Gardens and king of Carol City, died, the Bobby Boys' name started dying out the streets. Lot of crews spread out Miami Gardens. Even though most of these crews were friendly with G-Dub, they did want to join officially the Alliance, so they take their own sides, creating the Dark Side Alliance, with expand fast to Miami Gardens, even colonized some hoods in Norland with the gangster disciples. The G-Code couldn't get good with Darkseid and decided to treat them like enemies. They back up crews like Onway and Abera to push back. At first, they made progress, but then Purple City and Scott Lake back at Darkseid, holding it down and letting them keep taking territory, even snatching Abera's spots. Meanwhile, in central Miami, Imperial gangsters and Northwest boys held down a Lapata, which started kinda chill, just local beefs. Overtown was the opposite. It started with the Booby Boys doing drive-by on the region, then split between G-Code and G-Dub. That's why the Latin Kings expand more in strong territories in East Havana. Coming more from down south, an old gang called ENP, who have ties with the GDs, locked down Candelo West. They were blue, just like their homies. For years, they crashed with TNS, who lost most of their turf and got stuck in Miami, spreading also to Tom Park states. At the same time in the north, some small crews and Bloods joined G-Code to try and control the 441 corridor in South Boulevard. A broke, drugged out stretch just taking there with a lot of people using heavy drugs like that rock you smoke. G-Dub and Darkseid wasn't gonna let G-Code it alone, so they started pushing nearby hoods to complete. And this region was the latest part of Miami that had big conflicts with G-Dub and G-Code, because now the things are a little bit different. Today, this gang is not more like in the past, because in the past, you came with your brothers and your guns and take the hood. Nowadays, turf wars cost much money, so the summer of the thing, all 100 gangs of Miami broke into main alliances, keeping their own sides, which still get some deaths and fights in some neighborhoods, but that's a whole different story compared to New York, where the most gangs on the whole East Coast are packaged into one city. But that it's a story for another video. Bro, subscribe in the channel if you want more content of gangs, and forgive me if I miss some information about a gang or a territory. The information is difficult to find, so put in the comments what you think about it, and if you have something to say that I missed.